Wholesaling real estate does not have to be that hard or complicated if you know what to focus on in this current market that actually works. Take Dan here, for example. Over the last 10 days, Dan and I have been working together in one of our underdog challenges, helping him build out his business step by step. I will show you in this video the exact steps he followed and the process that took him from no leads to a contract within 10 days. Guys, I promise you, if you follow these steps, you should be able to get similar results. Now, why should you even listen to me? I have a community called No Fluff Real Estate where it's in the name. All I do is share with you what actually works to help you grow your real estate business. And I have business owners just like Dan that I work with on a monthly basis in our underdog challenges where I try to transform their business as fast as possible. Dan, for example, I'm trying to help him make 30 grand within a month. So this kind of stuff that I'm sharing with you in this video is literally the only thing that I do all day, every day. So for new people breaking into the industry like Dan, there's typically two major things that happen almost every single time that could take you from doing a deal very fast to it taking months, if not years. So one of those things is something called analysis paralysis. You feel like you have to learn everything before you do anything. Dan, for example, is going to learn way more in the doing of this deal that I'm going to share with you guys in a second than he ever would by watching more videos and trying to acquire more strategies. Analysis paralysis will keep you from making the money that you want to make. The key here is to pick one thing and just get going. So for Dan, he just needed a game plan, which leads to the second major problem. Well, what kind of game plan should I even follow? What actually works? I would like to focus on one thing, but tell me, Matt, what do I need to do that's actually gonna get me there faster? So if you guys are not familiar with our no fluff method, that's the only thing I am having Dan focus on over the next 30 days to get as many deals as possible. So in the beginning stages, all I needed him to do was to fix the number one problem that most investors face for their entire investing career. They don't have enough leads. So let's dive into the lead process that got us to this deal within 10 days. So leads. Look, there's a million ways that you could generate leads for your real estate investing business. Cold calling, PPC, mailers, like there's no one reinventing the wheel. What's out there is what's out there. And we're not doing anything novel. We're just changing the people we actually reach out to, which are realtors. Why is that? Because the NAR study said that 90% of people, when they go to sell their home, they have representation. So why are you guys not talking to realtors more often? Because they are 90%, 9 times out of 10, when someone goes to sell their house, they're getting representation. I want those people to know me. So when the time comes and they have a hairy situation, it's an ugly house they typically don't deal with, I want to be the person they reach out to. So that's what the no fluff model is all about. And to see this thing in action, and what I taught Dan on is actually broken down into 3 pieces. So the first piece comes down to the outreach. So the people that we want to start with, in Dan's example, he's out in Colorado. He wanted to stay there and find real estate investing deals for him to either buy and hold, turn to rental properties, but fix and flip and wholesale too. So we picked the areas where he wanted to work and we pulled all the active agents in those markets. Now guys, take something in consideration here. Agents, they post their phone numbers online. They are businesses. We can compliantly reach out to them, which is like the best thing in the world because it doesn't cost a lot of money to start by texting people, which is what we do. So we pulled all the active agents in step 1. We put those leads into our deal generator. Now, deal generator allows us to text blast, it allows us to send emails, and it allows us to make phone calls, but we always start by text. Why? That same article that talked about how people sell their home, it also talked about how agents prefer to communicate with clients and people in the industry. It said 94% of agents' preferred mode of communication is text. So that's why we start there. Now, step 2 for Dan, I had him set up his campaigns to send somewhere in the neighborhood of 300 to 500 text messages a day. But it's all about the outreach numbers in the beginning. So with Dan, I knew if I wanted to get him a deal as fast as possible, we need to start the outreach as fast as possible and send as many texts as we can in the beginning that will equate to our KPIs are 12 to 20 properties that get sent to us from agents that are off market turn into a deal. So if that's the case, we need to get to 20 off-market properties as fast as possible. So if I send 300 to 500 text messages a day, I'm going to get somewhere in the neighborhood of 2 to 8 properties sent to me a day. Now, about 30 to 40% of those properties are off-market, and those are the ones we focus on. So you guys can do the math backwards and say, with this model, how many deals do I want to do a month? I want to do 2, I want to do 3, I want to do 4. Just imagine you consistently closing 3 to 4 deals a month that didn't hardly cost you any money to get. That's where the margins are at, guys. That's how powerful this thing is once it's fully set up. So on August 1st, we did all of this for Dan. And I said, Dan, I just want you to work the inbound messages. So this is the second step of the no fluff model, which is how you actually work these leads with agents. What's so different? I'll tell you guys, you're working with business professionals. The way you build rapport with agents is just knowing what you're talking about. So Dan, being a little bit newer, he was going to need to leverage a strategic partner to help him close his first deal. And that's why he's in our group. We have challenge leaders every single month that help people that are brand new with their business, whether that be helping you evaluate deals, call leads, etc. So he leveraged the community to say, look, I'm gonna start getting leads that I don't know what to say to. I'm gonna need help and I'm gonna bring that to the community, which by the way, guys, you can go join. The link in the description is school.com/no-fluff-real-estate. The resource guide in there is completely free. It's a 30-day game plan where you can implement the same model that I'm working with Dan on. I break it down into day 1, do this, day 2, do this, and on a daily basis, just make sure you're doing these things. And I guarantee you guys, it's pretty stinking straightforward. So if you want that, go to the link in the description. Now back to Dan. So by day 2 and day 3 of working with Dan hands-on to help him in his business, he had leads starting to flow in. But the only people that I had Dan focusing on was just anybody that gave him an address. We consider those people to be what we call tier 1 agents. Now, we don't want to just focus on everybody. We want to focus on the agents that give us off-market properties. And it's all about building a connection. What's so different about this model versus maybe something else out there that you may have seen before or tried in the past, this is all around relationships. This is all around connecting with people. So it's like somebody gave you a Starbucks gift card. Even if you don't like coffee, you say thank you. That's all we're trying to do. So with Dan focusing on the off-market properties, I knew it was just going to be a matter of time until he had a lead that came in that was off-market, super motivated. They're looking to make a decision in the next couple days. And if we can come to an agreement on price, they're ready to sign. I knew Dan was going to have a shortcoming on being able to actually evaluate the leads, but I didn't know Dan was going to have a tough time picking up the phone in general, which was his first big challenge. The deal that we ended up getting in the first 10 days was a lead that actually came in on the second day of him generating leads. That sat around for about 48 hours. And once we got on the call and we looked at the leads, I'm like, oh my gosh, this came in 2-3 days ago. Now, to Dan's credit, he's a super busy guy, but also he was just like, I don't know what to say to these people. I need some help. So what I did was I'm like, okay, great. Well, let me try to call this person for you. So the way we handle our negotiations with an off-market lead is typically we call first. And if it makes sense, we then push the lead to evaluate, meaning I'll dive deep and figure out where we need to be on the numbers to actually buy it. And then after I do my homework, I will call that agent back and make some sort of offer range. Normally it's not me giving them something in writing for them to sign. So for Dan's lead, I picked up the phone and I called the lead for him just to see where they were at. And I also wanted to see if the lead was still available. Guys, if you're following this model, if you're not calling your lead, at least making that first contact that you guys will also see what I'm talking about in the resource guide. If you're not making that first contact within an hour to 6, somewhere in that range, no longer than 6 hours, the likelihood of you getting the deal goes down drastically. Because if it's a good deal and the agent has a solid network, it's already going to be sold to somebody else. So you want to be there, ready to pick up the phone and at least have a conversation. And if you're wondering, what do I say on these conversations? The script for it, the flow chart, is actually on that resource guide too. You can just copy exactly what I say. It works. So I got on the phone with his agent, Mr. Jared, awesome guy. And the situation was the sellers wanted to sell. They inherited the property, but guess what? They also inherited with the property? A massive headache. Jared's like, well, this isn't my normal listing that I would normally do. So I would like some help. Maybe this would make more sense to just sell to an investor as is because the property needs a bunch of work. And when I hear that, I'm like, this is literally money. This is exactly what we're looking for. We're looking for the hairy situations the agents don't know how to solve, and they know that it's going to take a unique buyer willing to buy in a specific situation. And when that's the case, normally the property gets discounted to meet us where we're at, and we come to an agreement on price, which is what we did. So when I got on the phone with him, kind of went through our normal flow chart, wanted to see, how much work do you think needs to be done? What do you think it's worth after we do the work? Do you guys already have offers on the table? Which in this example, he shared that, yeah, they had an offer at 155, they said no to. They had an offer at 175, they said no to. And I knew as investors, we're never going to be the highest bidder. we're never going to be able to beat out the rest of the competition. It's the reason why I don't like doing on-market deals, because by the time I make an offer for a property that's been sitting around for 6 months, they probably already said no to an offer higher than what I could pay. So in this sense, we want to be very careful with how we present ourselves and how we present our numbers. So I got all the feedback on the property. I saw that it was worth about $310 based on the conversation I was having with Jared, and the seller was right out the gate asking $200. So I'm like ringing the bells. I'm like, this is exactly what we're looking for. Ugly house, discounted, wanting to sell off market on an easy sale with a hairy situation. Oh my gosh, this is it. So having that initial conversation, I figured it is worth to dive deeper on the numbers to figure out where we need to be. We set the tone with Jared and let him know that we would be calling back. Now, when I hung up that phone, the look on Dan's face said it all. Dan learned way more by seeing the process happen, listening to an actual phone call, which, by the way, guys, in our challenges that we do every month, I make these phone calls on the live stream. So you can hear what I say, how I say it. And the business owners I work with, they make phone calls too. So that way you can see there is a pattern, and this can be very predictable if you just follow these steps, just like Dan. The next part of the process was to underwrite the deal. So I needed to figure out where we needed to be on the numbers to make it happen. I knew they said no to 175, but to be honest, that's probably where we needed to be to make sure that we can actually sell it. I looked at the photos. It's a cosmetic remodel, pretty standard stuff, but I know my buyers are probably going to want to come in, if we are wholesaling this, probably no more than like 190, 195. So after evaluating the deal, the next step with Dan on the line, we went ahead and called Jared back to negotiate the deal. Now, on that conversation, how we presented ourselves and how we pitched it was to be a value add to Jared. We're like, look, I know that you guys have already had an offer at 175 on the table. To be honest, we're going to be probably competitive with that. Now, if it's helpful for your seller, and I know they've already said no to that, he's like, yeah, they're just going to want to put it on market for 230 if you guys can't pay the price. And I was like, well, I can't pay 230 and I can't pay 200. Now, what if we did this? What if we said, give me a contingency, let me do my inspection. I'm going to tell you after inspection, I'm probably going to be at that 175 number. But if you want to put 190 down on paper, as that's like a high watermark and the sellers feel good about it, saying, hey, we'll sign at 190, knowing that they're probably going to need to adjust the price. I just want to be transparent with you, Jared, that this is how it's going to have to operate. And I'm letting you know that there's a good chance that I need to be at 175. But if 190 makes them feel better and I can help after doing inspection, I might be able to pay more than what I think. I just want to know that we're working together and you understand that there is a possibility of us needing to adjust the price. And after communication and conversation, he was open to it. Now, the key in these transactions where a lot of people, especially Dan being new, he's like, well, what happens next? Right? Who fills out the contract? How does the paperwork work? What I love about working with agents is I always put the ball back in their court. I'm like, well, Jared, if you think they would accept that, what I'll do is we'll send you over our buying entity information, which Dan did, and you can fill out the contract for us. We'll sign it. You can take it to your client and they can execute it too, and we can move forward and start the process. I'll tell you what, guys, agents will not waste their time filling out a contract if they don't think their client will accept. So I love to use that as a tool to gauge how interested they are. I never talk about price unless I know for sure that we're going to be moving forward. Jared filled out the contract, and guess what? We got this text message today saying contract is fully executed. So August 5th was the first text. August 15th, fully executed contract, even with about 3 lost days in there from not calling the lead when it came in. So going back, Dan may not be as lucky next time. Maybe it's an expensive lesson he'll have to learn by not getting a hold of these people within a timely manner between that 1 to 6 hours. But I'll tell you guys, he put himself in a position to get a deal done because first thing he did was fix his lead gen problem. Now text messages are going within 6 hours. Every single day, he's sending out 300 to 500 text messages. And guess what? This isn't the only deal he's working on. He's working on another one, but that'll be another video for another time. So if you are trying to get a deal done as fast as possible, what you need to first fix is your leads. And you don't need to go crazy and spend a bunch of money. You can simply do exactly what Dan did. You can implement the no fluff model, which is probably one of the more cost-effective ways of getting leads in. But I'll tell you, one of the greatest benefits is that when we do a deal like this deal with Mr. Jared, if we do what we say we're going to do and we keep our word, there is a really good chance. In fact, 1 in every 3 agents we do a deal with this year, in the same calendar year, we end up doing a second deal with. So you actually get the return business. You don't need hundreds or thousands of agents in your network to do deals with. If you take care of 20 people, you will most likely do about 26 deals. If you take care of 30 agents, you'll probably do about 40 deals. You guys can see how powerful this is and why the margins are so good. And hey, let this be our little secret here. So that's how you do a deal quick, guys. That's the no fluff version. I'm out. Bye.